Welcome to our wonderful desk. Joining us, the three of them, bright up and early for what is going to be some exceptional siege. Oh, look, exceptional siege is about to happen.
Oh, actually, the keyboard.
You just turned the laptop on.
I turned on the laptop. There we go. But yes, we're going to go for a very fun matchup to come through. It's going to be the Soniqs who, of course, came in through LCQs, through their own region, then basically didn't really have too much trouble getting through their games, getting through to phase 2, up against Dplus now, who really haven't played yet. So they're coming in like cold in this entire tournament here.
Yeah, it's the weird thing about Dplus. Obviously, you know, the Korean region, we've lost the two other teams. We've lost a lot of the sort of teams from around those regions to different league. And now we've just had another Japanese team take a loss. There's a huge amount of pressure here for not just their region, but an entire ecosystem's worth of siege. And okay, how Dplus got here was pretty much unbeaten. Only one unexpected best of one loss, and otherwise, I don't even think they dropped a single map throughout the runnings. They have lost in other external tournaments. Yeah. They lost to La Vega in the Gamers Without Borders qualifiers. But is that because they've been focused on this? Now is the time to, I guess, prove it.
It's always that big question we have, right? Like, what is the focus going to be more on the major, especially since there's only 2 now, Emmy? It's even more important getting a good result here to set yourselves up for a potential SI run at the end of the competitive year. So majors have become so much more important now, and you know, you're only 2 best of 1s and a best of 3 away from potentially being eliminated very quickly here. So they need to come out flying.
Hibana, Tokabi, Valkyrie, Oregon, similar, Azami. It's all the same stuff that we've been seeing over the past few days. Obviously, it's the first game that Dplus are playing. Now that we get the introduction of all of these Phase 2 teams, we sort of go back to day 1 of Phase 1, where we had the same maps quite a lot. Obviously, this is the second Oregon of the day, and I'm pretty confident in saying it's not going to be the last Oregon of the day.
Are you willing to take that?
I'm willing. I'm willing.
To put it on your name, you're swearing on it. It's not going to be the last.
I'm willing to have that stress and that pressure. And if anything, it's funnier for me because I know obviously the analysts have to just keep doing the same maps. We're going to see Oregon. We're probably going to see 2 clubhouses today as well, just with the habit of how things go in best of 1s.
What about 4 clubhouses for Oregon?
4 Oregons, 4 clubhouses? Wouldn't surprise me.
All right, we're starting off in what can only be described as probably the most default site across all the regions we have in Siege on this map. We're starting off in the basement, Laundry, and you know, it has changed a bit over the years when, you know, we had the Oregon rework to come through, which has changed the execute, but that's a long while back. What we often do see here is an E-box drop to come through with some pressure from the main stairs, some pressure from blue, and making sure there is no shield in the elbow area. And that's what Yas is going to be doing here, using the RC Rotero early on to remove some utility out there. Instantly we'll be able to get the shield. There's going to be no challenge whatsoever from the side of Grixer. He's going to be able to put down a new ADS though, just to protect his position. Oh, another one just rolls in. That might actually get both those utility pieces out there.
I mean, you love Flores, specifically for this site as well, but in general, just being able to get in, get blue destroyed, and cause some problems early on. You're looking at a hold that now is a lot weaker, and there's still 2.5 minutes. Yeah, you can still sort of play the position, you can rebuff them, look through the smokes if you're going to have Citizen in that position, or the shotgun of Geometrics ready to sort of rock and roll there. But then you're looking at the Candelas, you're looking at grenades, you're looking at now a lot more of a cost on a swing, and at what point do the defenders potentially go, look, we probably can't hold this as solidly as we can. There is obviously, if you see all the way in dorms on the far side, somebody is playing a bit loosey-goosey. How long until they get found?
The thing as well, though, with the entire elbow area, it doesn't always get pushed by attackers, so sometimes you have the opportunity to play it a bit more.
Gunner.
Yeah, I see
having a hide.
Right next to the foosball table. It's just gonna wait there. Might get to play a game or 2. Boogeyman setting up for the flank watch here, shows you what they want to be focusing on. First, those backstairs, Harper sent some shots down. Boogeyman now taking control of the meeting as well, probably to make sure that the hatch would be opened up by Soldier carrying those hard breach gadgets. And it basically tells you this is the exact push I said they were going to go for as we started this round. From Blue, from the backstairs, and from the hatch all at the same time. But Gunnar, he dropped down. He's looking for some trouble.
Oh, they're going to roll the drone around, and Vigil isn't the most common sort of play. The gadget is very selfish. However, if you're using it around this mark to waste time, you hit a punch, which they may be heard, depending on the distance. They're now having to recheck kitchen. You're playing around the mute jammers. You do have the escape on Freezer, and you can see now Dplus are trying to run the maths. Do we just go for the push? Do we trust that we have this covered? Can we sort of take the fight and not get struck from behind? They're pulling out and pocketing and pulling out gadgets. They don't quite have that clarity on what they want to do here. Citizen is more than ready. Rexon's ripped and torn and just going to loose it a bit early, but Coated and Soldier are able to find one apiece, including Gunnar, who is on the roam. Rexon and Grixer bite back either side of Blue. They pop themselves a second and get some escape as Coated has to very quickly go for the rebuild towards the E-Box hatch itself. There's another drop with Soldier having some support, but how do you get the kit into a position where you can try and actually get the plant? They have Freezer door. You can't go for the default plant because they'll just swing on you instantly. They have the back of it as well. Coated has to try and take the fight and see if he can lead it in. Gio's going to go on the rotate round on the side, the C4 over the top, and that is all she wrote.
The double kills come in to end it there for this side of Soniqs. They're going to be able to get that very first under control. And I mean, if you looked at the Dplus round there, they did what they needed to do. They got control of Blue slightly. I mean, there was no one there swinging the E-Box drop. The first initial 2 kills did actually come through from Dplus, but afterwards they were able to quickly fight back Soniqs, and that's what held them on to that round. Of course, with a Nitro still in pocket. Always nice to have in a situation like that where you don't really want to be taking a fight, but you know you have to do something.
It was a great time bait as well. Obviously, you look at around, you know, the minute 30 was when the Vigil got spotted, and then they sort of danced around a little, went back, and they lost the eventual gunfight. But if that is what drew the Ash out of the push onto the back end, if that is what stopped the momentum, and, you know, as we could see from the juggling of utility, there were questions that they were still asking there. You just put a little bit of doubt into the pockets of the approach. You find a little bit of a round at the end of it. Up to dorms. Soniqs go. The Solace is now on the board. No more Vigil. But as Fresh very aptly pointed out, there is a lot of different operators that have been played across this tournament so far.
And it was actually La Vega who played 52 different unique operators so far. And of course, there
was it La Vega or Varel?
It could be either.
We could ask him.
La Vega, Varel? Varel, sorry, my bad. It was Varel that played the most different kind of
just on a set.
But it doesn't matter. They're gone either way. So there's an opportunity to play more.
So's Gunnar. Gone instantly. Coated sprays through, whether that was revenge on a peak or just lucky timing. Unlucky for Gunnar, who we complimented wasting so much time on the previous round. This time, the only thing he can do is watch from the rafters and the cameras and see if he can try and guide the remaining 4 players into a round here.
The roof being taken under control now just to make sure you can go on this little games window. Put some pressure out there. Make sure it's opened up. And, you know, some of you back at home, you might be new to Siege. You might be wondering, like, why do you open up a window if you're not playing from it?
Why do you?
Oh, that's just to put pressure down.
Oh.
It makes sure that the defenders will not feel as safe rotating around there anymore because they know there's a line of sight the attackers can use and shut you down. The same happens for Blue down below. You open up the door so defenders can play it. Sometimes you just need to open a door. You can leave it, but use it later on if you really need to.
The walking wall gets breached. Gio has a bit of a swing and some control here, and as long as Attic isn't under pressure, which it might be soon, as Yas is getting some attention towards it and Harper hits the other side, they try and potentially pinch the pit position. A couple of grenades, the burn comes around, the smoke pops close, the shield is still standing. He swings into the fight, but too much is going on. Yas is able to clean that up. Citizen gets a C4 back onto Soldier. It's Woogieman just watching the double window, an easy pick up onto Rex in there. And now Citizen fighting his way back up towards the top of White. Grix is able to win one out onto Pit, get some control, and then instantly watched and dropped in the eyes of Citizen. Coated for one more, a minute. And we're not going to see any of it. Coated drives us back in to an even half.
An evil half, yeah.
An evil half.
Very evil. Good round coming down there from Dplus. basically, it wasn't like an attack from one side like we saw in round number 1 where they, they really wanted to come in from one direction only. What we saw here was shepherding, opening up multiple different angles, opening up multiple different places, putting up the pressure as well to force the Soniqs players out of their comfort positions right into the lines of sight of anybody watching those flanks, or rather rotate around on that side. And, they punished them well for it. They took all the gunfights, they won all the gunfights, and now they found themselves on 1-1. So a very good round from Dplus Kia there.
So Soniqs, obviously there is technically a bit of history between these two orgs, but it's org spawn and rosters. There was 3 of the same players on Dplus Kia and 2 of the same players on Soniqs when these two teams met at SO 2022. But what we can try and get is that famous secondary intel of how does Soniqs do against teams from the region. Well, the last time they were actually in a best-of-1 at a scenario like this was in Berlin versus Sandbox, where they lost, I believe, both games against Sandbox Gaming.
Yeah, and the major before that actually won both best of ones against them. So, like, I think for Soniqs to have down overall a 4v2 on maps versus Korea. And for Dplus against NA is 6 on 8. So they've lost 8 maps and have won 6 against North America. So that would tell you that Soniqs is still slightly favored to be going into this one. I mean, the social polls, as I was looking at it earlier, were also slightly favored.
A little bit.
Just a little bit favored towards Soniqs. So, Dplus is definitely going to be the underdog for this entire game here. But if they play like they played that last round, I have a lot of faith in the fact that they might actually make this a very close game, if not even win it.
It's one of those things to sort of say, okay, this is kind of obvious. It's a phase 2 team, but it's one of the most impressive rounds I think I've been able to cast of a team from that region, from APAC throughout this tournament so far, or the generic at large, Korea more specifically. So you want to see that fight, you want to see that return, because at this point, as I said at the start of this, Dplus have watched a lot of teams lose, including La Vega versus Soniqs a few games ago. This being a chance to try and bring back some of that energy. Rexon forced out of his position here onto Pip by the first grenade. Citizen is watching to see if Coated drifts a little bit too wide, but when you're looking at this site and the control, you can try and force this vertical, but you don't need all of it. You do just need that attic section.
Yeah, that's it. You need to have attic under control. Preferably, you'd like to have someone down below as well to make sure there's no one just creeping up like they suddenly do. With the shutdowns there, Woogieman will find a kill just in time, just to make sure, that he can still use that talent shield later on to get that plant on the board.
I mean, it was a risk, but I'm not sure how informed it was. You can see Grix is watching from one perspective, but there was at least 2 other Dplus players there ready to swing onto that. They had the pings, and it feels like a gamble that, is it really worth running the numbers? You're playing the Legion, you're playing an ability that can get a little bit stronger, especially if they're trying to tuck the plant here at this point, and you might theoretically have the hatch open to lob those from underneath. Citizen is going to see if he can try and take the fight, being droned ahead, and an easy pick up there against Yas, but with 40 seconds and Coach is getting control of Attic itself, they're going to see if they can try and get the execute.
Like such an unnecessary gunfight to take out there on the kitchen, right? Like, he didn't really need to go there. But as the plant's going down out, I wonder is there any piece of utility they can toss at you? There's only a C4 in the hands of Rexon, which doesn't actually get tossed in. There is going to be the plant successful. 40 seconds, a retake is now on for the side of the Soniqs.
One of the first plants of the day, and how do you break your way through? The C4 just prepped. Woogieman does go down. Not sure if it was because of the full explosion, but Soldier and Harper get the rest cleaned up. Just down to Rexon. Cannot find the swing. Dplus, they pull themselves ahead here. 2 rounds so far, and honestly, it feels like they're just getting warmed up.
They are getting warmed up, and first of all, we have to go back towards the initial bit of pressure being put upon them.
Yep.
The Legion moving up the stairs right below hand. You knew that something was going to happen. I actually said it at the moment. You need to be having someone down below as well, because the pressure could be coming down from there. That Woogieman takes that fight, swapping off the talent shield, still winning that. Should not have happened. That should have been the end of the Yossa at that point. But, Woogieman lived and managed to get that plan down on the board. Also, it didn't seem like the C4 from below was prepped, because the Warden was actually below. At the moment that the plant was going down, we didn't see it flying out. It was still in hand and not tossed until just much later.
It's that strange sort of thing where I said how much does the Legion know to go for this swing, to go for that trust? There was 2 swing other players in that position. If you got the Ossa and traded out after then, they might have defined the round.
Yeah, because that's no longer the talent shield. Plant's going to be so much more difficult now. You need to get behind the dinner table.
Such a risk to take.
I mean, you know, there's always more than one person there. Like, you cannot assume there's just the one person there. So they must have known that risk. The one thing from Dplus I think they could have done better, but of course they don't know their strategy. I felt it was kind of unnecessary to take the fight in the kid's bedroom. Like, they didn't really need to go there. Maybe someone below would have been safer in that matter. Either way, they won the round, so there's not much that we need to discuss after that. Maybe in a future round. But we're back in the basement here. We're back in Laundry, and very quick controls being exerted here from the side of Dplus Kia. They're already starting to drone down the staircases. I believe there's also no roamers they need to worry about, and that means there's just plenty of time to make sure they can set themselves up as they want to, and maybe formulate a bit of a better push compared to round 1. Started off well, but quickly fell apart right after.
Now, obviously, if this is the first time you're watching some of the Korean Siege in a while, but you've watched a lot of majors, you're probably familiar with most of this Dplus roster. However, Soldier and Harper coming in from 2 other Korean teams to round out a squad that obviously lost a couple of the more familiar names from this roster. It's great to see them off to such a good start here. They're playing very aggressive roles. They're bringing, obviously, the drive of the sledge alongside the pocket utility that Soldier's got in the Ying. However, they were always kind of sharp players that were a bit underutilized in their previous rosters.
No, for sure, and I think they really have the opportunity to shine here on Dplus Kia. But of course, we're going to get to see that more so as we progress throughout this game, as we progress through the tournament. As this is only the first best of 1. Quick opening here with the can opener or the heart-reaching gadget. It's going to be making sure they at least have a way right into the E-box. Now it's going to be a matter of getting that main stairs under control, or the back stairs rather.
Coed has some awareness, but he's just going to replace the drone to make sure nobody swings directly onto him. He kind of looked like he wanted to fight for a second there, but Gio's pulled himself back. The smoke's just going to stop the push behind it. A minute on. They might just be burning utility. They've got the ping on the claw there, tucked on the outside. It could go for a risky swing from the stairs, but there's still so much danger around. The very aggressive positioning up on the side of blue, the sort of propositioning of I'm here for the fight as soon as the fight happens, buys as much life for the player inside the position there on the other swing. Shaiko, and that corner, obviously played by Gio currently, is able to stay standing because of how aggressive they were on the door. The grenades get used, Rexon gets 1 and 2, backed off the box, and again, it's all to keep this player alive in this position. Gio is causing so many problems, and the network around them have kept him alive and kept everybody else dead. Woogieman, all that's left after the failed execute and collapse onto the position. 20 seconds. I would be surprised.
I mean, we saw them struggle in the last round, but they actually managed to get those first entry kills on the board. It's now going to be a flawless round for Soniqs. And, you know, that's something they need after how the last 2 rounds went, because Dplus really had their number in those last 2 rounds. Them being able to strike back with a flawless now might give them the extra bit of confidence they need to make sure they find a victory on the top 4 as well. And as we then start looking at exactly how it went wrong, well, they weren't quite able to deal with Rexon, they weren't quite able to deal with Shaiko, and with the elbow. Those 3 key positions are, of course, those first positions you're going to have to go after if you want to find success in that basement. But none fell, and that just makes it really difficult as an attacking team to get that plan down.
2 apiece, but Soniqs have only been able to make that happen on 1 side. Will they be able to get the stretch here? See if there's somewhere else they can kind of put the feet down. Here, obviously, there was an early loss. A loss 20 seconds into the game. The Solace gone, and either way, you're always hurting, regardless of whether it's an anchor player or somebody that intends to be on the farthest reaches of Narnia possible. Getting caught by a spray through a soft, assuming that's what happened, it doesn't put you in a good mood.
No. That would be something that, I mean, you're in such an important game. That happens to you, like, come on, like, is this really how I die on round 2?
I would put that in the bad column.
Yes, that's not in the good column.
No.
It's in the bad column. If we have to divide them by the 2, yes. So, Last time, that's how it started off, but afterwards we saw a really good Dplus that was attacking from multiple angles, forcing people out of their comfort positions right into the crosshairs of Coda, for example, who was watching through the big window. So if that is something they do again, then they might be able to find that same success. Just try and dislocate these players, try and force them into a different spot and catch them if they do so.
Yes, couldn't quite get the full drone in, so he just goes, frees his drone. Allow them to get a better idea of the hold here onto Trophy. Now, they got the walk-in breach pretty cleanly before, but doesn't seem like Soniqs are too intent on stopping it directly. They have doubled up on the Trophy wall this time. They're not playing with the swing because they realized just how much pressure was coming towards Pit and onto Geo before. Make them have to work for it. Don't give them the chance with the Zofia stun. And here, as they go for the plant, where they go for the impact underneath, the second Kaid Claw has been locked and thrown. The third is in hand. It goes down instantly, but they've pulled off the exothermic. Now they've placed the exothermic, but they've pulled it back off once again. There goes the impact. There goes the EMP. The Claw will be a bit too late, and they get the wall and the kill. It felt a little bit long, but they got there in the end, and you can't fault them for it.
It felt like a bit of a waste, considering they had to use 3 EMPs.
Maybe it was just to wait for the player to get into position on the window.
Maybe that's why.
That makes sense.
I mean, if we go back towards the second round, it was about shepherding them out of control. Opening up a wall is really forcing them out of a way where they were playing, and they find an entry on the back of it. So well done. But Citizen is finding himself down below. Coded is watching it with a drone, has just spotted him out now, though. So that game has been read. He's not going to be able to just swoop in and get those C4s where they need to be to stop that plant from happening without Dplus being aware of it. So it's effectively a 3-on-5 on the site now.
Yes, aggressively holding the rotate back from Pit. The smoke could try and cover his own movement, but as the pressure starts to slowly surround these players, it's still up to Dplus to put that pressure down into actuality. They slip their way into Trophy. They're concerned about the hole over the top in case a C4 flies through. The grenade. Oh no, yes! Destroys Soldier, stops the plant. Woogieman and Rexon find one apiece, a 3 versus 3. As suddenly, they had everything perfect for an execute, and Yas is now going to do all the work. They hop in and get it, and leaves just Citizen. Gets one from the side of Trophy, gives the game in his position, but 20 seconds is much more tenable than what it was before. One more for Citizen, and now it's only Yas to reclaim the round that he potentially cost with a little bit of accidental grenade throw. The C4 goes to the wrong place. He now knows where the plant is, but there's not a proper clean rotate there, so he's holding and hoping that somebody goes for the swing onto him. 40 seconds. A lot more time than you think it is until you find yourself around 20 seconds. Yas has an idea. They've seen each other, but Citizen, and you can see it on his player cam, and I'm sure you'll hear it around the halls. They pull themselves ahead.
I don't know how that grenade bounced back, but it's so unfortunate, and not being able to move out in time there. That's a big cost, because otherwise that plant would have probably gone down a lot earlier. They didn't have to just all rush in to try and recover the round for what it was. And everything, you know, was going Dplus's way until the grenade landed right on. Soldier blocked it.
It bounced off the player.
It bounced the Soldier himself.
Who do we blame in this scenario?
It's a bit of 50-50. Like,
who do we point the finger at?
Yas released the grenade. Soldier walked right in front of it and found himself killed by it.
Unfortunate.
That's just siege timing. Is that what we're going to blame here? It's unfortunate, that's for sure. And with that, it's going to be Soniqs that find themselves in the lead in a round that, if we're completely honest, should have been Dplus Kia. They played it perfectly again. They had everything in place. And then Soldier Body blocks a grenade from Yas.
The siege gods giveth.
And they taketh.
And they taketh. Okay, well, they've been able to do it on a second site. They can suddenly find it on the third, maybe with a bit of a windfall here. Again, you know, you have a couple of questions on how things go, and even then, even with things going wrong, it's a 1 versus 3 clutch.
It was a wonderful clutch, and we cannot disregard him for it.
But that's the sort of statement right now, is Soniqs know that cards on the table, that shouldn't have been their round, even with a big mistake, which obviously they don't know the ins and outs as well as we and Dplus do. Even with a big mistake, Dplus should have and could have won that round. Here's the pressure onto the tertiary side, and even half on Oregon, swinging onto your second side here. Well, we've had a sort of weird amalgamation of games from Dplus recently. Some of their attack games have been pretty flawless. Some of their defense games have been the same, and then sometimes they entirely drop the ball on both.
Especially if we're looking at Oregon. 2-2 was their attack that they played last time, and 5 out of 6 rounds on their defensive half. So
yeah,
the defensive half is definitely something they'll be looking forward to, but still, you want to get the extra round in. Some good spots coming down now. Gunnar doesn't have any impact to stop that wall from opening up wider than it already might be, and that is going to be putting him into a bit of a risky position as he could be swung from multiple angles out here.
They're just trying to fish the loose thread here and pull somebody into a swing rush. We've seen them have a really good angle on the rotates Soniqs like to do. It seems like it's a game that Dplus have practiced quite intently, and as Citizen slips his way towards the hatch itself, covered by the motion of Gunnar, Soniqs just aren't going to sit around. They're sick of losing those players in that exact scenario where Dplus have a player on every single window and door that it seemed like Soniqs wanted to take.
I mean, that's how the Dplus game has been successful so far, right? Like, they start opening up, people can no longer play in a position, then they move right into the lines' side. And, you know, this time Soniqs decided, not today, or at least not this round, as our final defense. We would like to be ending this with a 2-4. And as they pull back safely. Now the drone's starting to come through, and if you look at the current way that Dplus has distributed themselves across the map, it seems to be a kitchen plant that they want to be going for here. Harper's opening up above. It's going to be making sure there's loads of verticals they need to worry about. However, security is not under control yet, and that's kind of the big deal that they need to have control of if they want to go for a plant here. They need to have security on the lock and key.
Citizen opens up the freezer door. He didn't want to sort of charge through it or give it anything closer. It just allows him to keep an angle in case someone's watching it from Zulu. Gunnar creeps his way up. Citizen strikes underneath in the same second. With 30 seconds left, suddenly it puts a little bit of warning into the angles and IDs that maybe Dplus wanted to put together. Gunnar deep dives, goes further and further through the hold, moves in the wake of what was opened by Dplus, and it's being watched a bit by the sledge here. They're over the hatch. They're holding a close angle. There's the motion. There's one. Doesn't know about the second. Soldier planted for a split second. Goes with the double down as Grixer and Citizen get kills of their own. Yas is doing their best to cover as it just tucks on the far end. They've been able to get one. They look into the second and find it. Yas with a huge swing, and suddenly this game's gone back into a 2 versus 2. Grixer has the verticality. They do not have the pick on the players. As the Alder swings, Citizen swings back. Takes care of Yas, leaving just Soldier. As I said, a recent addition to the roster, played on the highest tier before. They're on the plant, holding the kit. Citizen holding the angle. Soldier needed to move sooner than that. And Soniqs, they hold on to their body advantage and get the round.
Huge play coming out from Yasto, just opening up the side as the plant's going through and really bringing it back to somewhat equal numbers. I mean, the 2-2, of course, they still had the high ground. They still had people around. Oh, also, what a beautiful shot from Gunnar, by the way. And after that, the double top retake, like they take care of Gunnar, they think it's safe. Suddenly, the Maestro and Grixer pop up there to basically tell him, no, we still have that top floor in our hands.
Yeah! Good call, man. Good job, bro. So no one here.
Early day energy.
That Citizen twice in a row now with a 3K.
Eat it up.
He's making sure that Soniqs is leading this one right now.
I mean, obviously, with the way the Swiss sort of sorting system works, they have momentum that's carried over to them from phase 1. This is their best possible chance to not take a team by surprise, but we've always talked about how first games, first teams, it's sometimes a little bit cautious, a little bit slow. You need to sort of cut your teeth on the grand stage, setting yourself up, and they've already had that. They've had a bag so far. Soniqs, they've had it against this very region already.
They definitely have, and they're willing to continue that trend for so far. Now, as we're down in Laundry, we will see a bit of a split push coming out from Soniqs, which I like. Citizen is already trying to open up and deal with some utility in the side of the elbow, whereas Gunnar trying to push down the Laundry stairs quickly here, but there is a barricade that stops him from moving through, and after that, there's a mirror window that'll be having some eyes on him, so he's not going to be able to just freely walk through.
What does he want to do?
Even though he is eyeing up something, I'm not quite sure what it actually is.
I think he's maybe got the call that somebody else is paying attention, because Dplus knew. You saw instantly they went and held that mirror window and just sat and watched and waited with how quick that camera went down, a bit of that spray through, they were keeping an eye quite aggressively on towards the top of the freezer stairs instead of letting more territory fall. And look at this. They read that attack.
They were ready for it.
And made the right decision pulling off. They got close, sensed something was in the water, and Gunnar was like, no. This isn't right.
There's another mirror Windows about to run into.
Oh, Harper
should have been aware of that, but Harper gets himself taken down by the side of Gunnar, who's instantly rotating out again.
There was yellow pings there, though. They had awareness. I'm not sure if it was just a miscommunication. An easy catch. As you said, he rotates once again. Soniqs have had a minute 30. He rotates once again. Gunnar, with all the energy of a ping pong ball with a gun, is bouncing back and forth between either side. As the hatch gets opened, it's going to make that mirror window a little bit trickier to play, especially if they start trying to bounce some utility.
Fire, maybe.
Yeah.
They do have a Capita on the board, so it could be a good use to at least stop that one mirror window, or maybe even put a smoke right next to it so they cannot really see through. By the way, Gunnar again has to rotate around. He's not going to be sticking around. Rixer and Rexon pushing out for the freezer site now. So it seems like a laundry of freezer pushes going through. They need to isolate these mirror windows because there's two of them. Gunnar cannot really do anything without having taken care of the small box. And at the same time, the freezer site cannot do anything as well unless they take care of the freezer mirror window. So they really need to make a move happen here.
Flashes come through, 40 seconds, and in terms of structural architecture, most of it still stands here for Dplus. Sure, they've lost a player and a couple of hatches, but it's the push that comes to the shove. Coated. Oh, he survived for a second, but it just spread in the range. Gio's holding onto the swing angle. There's Rexon getting one more. Soldier does stop it. Grixer leaves just Soldier alone. There's two, there's three. Here's a player that's about to swing his elbow if he's not aware of that. Oh, he almost sees the side of the honor, and Rexon finds the kill. Soniqs, after a little bit of back and forth, they've now threaded 4 rounds in a row here.
Very good round there from Soniqs. They realized, okay, there's a mirror window watching laundry, there's a mirror window watching freezer. So we needed to find a way to deal with it. Hey, we have a Capitao. Why don't we just put the player on fire that's right behind it? And then you suddenly have neutralized one mirror window, which allows the others to push up. You get yourself some extra space, and you find yourself a success of the round. So as we have the timeout right now happening, it's mostly because, you know, Dplus have not really thrown away, but they've thrown away a lead that allowed Citizen to clutch in one of the rounds when they were attacking. Right now, they basically got punished for playing a bit too passive, you can almost say, behind those mirror windows, relying a bit too much on the mirror windows rather than trying to take the fight to Soniqs.
I mean, there's no two ways about it. This game should, scoreline-wise, be
be closer, yes.
The fact that those go away from you, it eats away at you more than anything. It feels like there's a couple of mistakes now coming through from the side of Dplus that they weren't quite making at the very beginning of this game. You know, miscomms and miscalls can be the difference between life and death. But from the side of Soniqs, that was very clean, very succinct. Whether they win or lose their gunfights, they seem to have a good idea of what each other is doing and what each other knows, most importantly. And that is, in that situation especially, the difference maker.
I mean, it's often what you hear in a lot of like professional comms is everybody's telling you where they are and what they're doing. It's the most important thing. Like, hey, I'm right here, I'm dealing with this right now, cannot help you. Or, hey, I'm not doing anything, I'm coming over to deal with this issue. I have a grenade we can use. Communication is always key in a game like Siege, especially because it has so many layers, so many floors, so many pieces of utility that all have their unique counters, which is what makes this game so awesome. But all these players at the same time, especially those calling shots, they need to have like massive brains to be able to just think of all this on the fly within like a second or two.
Oh, you know, like the picture-in-picture that we get in the top corner, especially when it reveals utility that goes off. Imagine if you're solo queuing and you have that camera. That's like the best thing. That picture-in-picture where it's like, here's the hard breach that's gone. It changes the game information. Yeah. Changes the game. Just on little things like that. And as you said, the body that was lost on Freezer there from Dplus, it's just a matter of the ping was there, but they weren't listening. They miscommunicated. It cost them the first death.
Now, drones entering the building. Just gathering some small information here, like, hey, bot buyer, all right, is there anything else that I would maybe want to use my grenade for to push up later? Doesn't seem to be the case as of yet. Because Soniqs right now, I mean, they only need 2 more rounds and they will find themselves at the next part at the 1-0 side of the Swiss bracket. For those of you that don't know, you only play someone with the same record as you in Swiss. So they will be playing other winners if they win this. And Gunnar right now has the opportunity to get a free kill. We'll find it as well. Soldier falls prey to basically the same game that Dplus was playing themselves.
Just backed in to that engagement. Wasn't even really forced by anything. Citizen's in the site with a double. The Nook straight up the stairs. Harper, lost in the source, is going to see if he can try and swim his way to some kills. They've tucked inside. There's one. Doesn't get the second. They're holding on around the top of the table as the plant's going down. Geo on the far end is making sure it sticks. Woogieman's going to go for the retake here onto Pit, but now it's a post-plant, 40 seconds left. They're right behind the double. They can get out the double window. There's one more for Woogieman. But with Harper fighting his way close towards the site, Woogieman gets Geo. Grixer does stop Woogieman. A 2 versus 1, and they're on either side of this wall. The first is on Trophy Door, a 1 versus 1, and Citizen has been in this position for a long time. Does Harper know? I do not think he does. He got in, got a double, hid, and just got another triple.
I mean, this is kind of what we always expected from Citizen, right? He's like a lurker. Like, that's the best thing he does. He just sits there, he baits the rest of his team, and he cleans it up in the air. That's just what he does.
I don't know if you can call someone inside a site on the default plant spot.
He was lurking on the side. He was waiting for the perfect moment to strike there.
Yeah, he's lurking.
But no, I mean, this might not be the perfect example, but if you look at the 2 previous 3Ks he has, he just lurks around on the map, comes back at the perfect timing. And that's how he is utilized best. That's something when he was in G2, he fell more into the entry fragger role, which is, I mean, he's great at it. He's a great fragger. We cannot say anything against that. But when he gets the freedom to just basically play wherever he wants on the map and just strikes at his right timing, he's so much more deadly. He's 12 on 3 right now.
It's not that Dplus have been entirely pushed away, regardless of the fact we're currently sitting 6-2. You know, I guess it's the slightly better system here of you're coming in towards this tournament quite late on, there's less teams here, and now you have the Swiss system to try and get you a couple of games. But it's just frustrating, and the longer it goes on, the more frustrating it can sort of be. We have a blitz in the hands of Gunnar.
Yep.
Yeah, obviously you're looking at what else is there. There's nothing else that sort of signifies go, 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 guns blazing instantly.
Well, it might be to deal with mirror windows, right? Yes, a multi would work against it as well, but basically the panic that comes in from a blitz chasing someone down is so much more effective in some of these areas. And I mean, they have 4 rounds right now to try and lock this out, so there's absolutely no pressure on Soniqs in this round. And so you see Gunnar instantly descending the staircase, taking out the camera, making sure there's no information, then he just hops back off, goes to a different area, and you know, he might just come back in like 10, 20 seconds and just rush down the hallway.
Who needs the drone when you can just have Gunnar face check everything?
I mean, that's what the shield is for, right? Like, he could just face check.
Yeah, but he did it as Ash the last time they were down here before. He just kept on.
I mean, that's just someone who feels very comfortable,
he feels comfortable
in his role, even though maybe his current KD doesn't really reflect it. But
if one of your team's gone 12-3,
yeah,
I think it's okay to have that energy there. Still weighing up. And remember how it happened last time here was the push itself, 30 seconds left, roughly. They took the drop onto Freezer, onto Laundry at the same time, took the fights into the mirror windows, and won most of them out. They're going for another prod here.
Woogieman just went off. He was prone underneath the small opening in E-Box with a C4, so as soon as that window or door would have opened up and Gunnar would have started walking through with the blitz, that C4 could have been the end of him, but they've just rotated around, and now the player, Soldier, inside of the elbow here, so much more vulnerable to that blitz just rushing through. They've kind of given away a free opportunity here to decide at Soniqs to utilize it.
Soldier might be under a lot more pressure than he thinks, but again, as we fall under the minute mark, and they were late last time, they really, truly try and weigh up all their options before they go for this close down. They're going to see if they can maybe force the player out so they cannot swing onto E-Books. There is a bit of fire there that they know is likely going to get popped as soon as they make the motion. That's caught out. Still pops off. The smoke gets some cover. 3, 2, 1, go. And Well, they're able to go for the pistol, wins it out onto blue, looks forwards the second, but they don't need to fully dive because there it is. The pressure comes from the back end. This Soniqs execute once again. Perfectly formulated, perfectly played. It's a song, and it's a dance, and it's a blitz tonight as the last kill. And it is truly a bit of a nightmare here to Dplus. So one song continued to be sung by NA, and well, that'll give us some fun rounds for our desk and analyst to break it down. We'll throw it to a quick break before we're back with them.
I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression, it's all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon and dub it. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression, it's all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon and dub it. Why you be all on my line about nothing? Why won't you go get you $1 or something? Don't hang with a who line for nothing. I see that we different, you riding, I double. I don't do discussions on bragging about hundreds. Don't go to your places, I know that they sunken. Don't call me your brother, I barely could trust it. I talked to a shorty, she bagging the bucket. And I'ma need all of my dollars on corporate, so hand me the money, I divvy the pie. I'ma give all of my people a portion to build them a fortune. I'm flipping the ride. I can't be mixy when iffy the vibe. And 40 on 50 is really the time. Why are you all on my phone like you want me? Like you wasn't pushing the kid to the side. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling.
The Blast R6 Major Copenhagen, and I am joined by yourself, Gunnar. As you can see, celebrations were in full force for yourself and for your team. So I got to ask you, first and foremost, we spoke about it a little bit before the broadcast started. That was a little bit of a closer affair than maybe anticipated. What went wrong?
I mean, I wouldn't say a lot went wrong. It was more so like, I was definitely getting caught off guard on like the early picks at the beginning of the game. And once we just slowed it down, we sat in our corners until, you know, they executed. They couldn't really do much. But yeah, I wouldn't really say we were caught off guard most of the time. It's just those first two attacks they got on us they were just good attacks.
So as of about 2 weeks ago, you guys recently changed up your playstyle, opted for a more passive, a little bit more slow-paced playstyle. Do you think that might be why they were playing so hesitant against you guys?
I'm not sure. I think they have a pretty newish roster too. I think of all like the APAC teams that have played, they're definitely more of the more structured ones, and they were doing a really good job just working the early round picks and then setting up for execute. But like I said, once we adapted better than I think they did.
And when it comes to scrimming in particular, I know we were talking about it a little bit yesterday with the amount of scrims you guys are playing. How does that factor into it? Are you guys trying to keep some of your secrets still, not reveal too much about this new age of Soniqs?
I wouldn't really say we're hiding anything. It was more so, I guess, more picky about who we want to scrim. Mm-hmm. If we were, we're going to play an aggro team, we weren't trying to find more aggro teams to scrim, and vice versa. But I mean, things have been going good for us, and I'm excited. I'm proud of everyone because we started down, I guess, 1-2 on defense, and we brought it all the way back, and the mental was high.
And is there a team that you find that you prefer to scrim against? Any teams here that you really want to face off against?
No team in particular. We're just taking it one game at a time. I don't even know who we play next, but I mean, I'm excited to play everyone. I think it'll be a good tournament.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining me, and congrats once again. I think it's about time I bring in my analysts again. just like that, kind of like magic. I've waved a magic wand and you're back again. Fresh, what did you make of that game?
I thought Soniqs were clinical. I thought, well, actually, did I think they were clinical? Probably not. I thought their defenses, they were letting Dplus get set up. They were letting Dplus, like Gunnar just said, work the opening picks, set up, and then get executed. But I do think that the post plants from Soniqs really brought that back around on the defense. And then from there, once they got on the attack, they looked really good on the attack.
Yeah, there were these huge rounds from players. I mean, Citizen in particular had that 1v3 at one point, did assist in that later round where the plant cover or the counter defuse was going down. So that was really good from him on that side. Gotta mention before as well, like on attack or on their own defenses, he was suffering a bit from the opening deaths, but on their own attacks, he was all over the map. He was controlling then down laundry stairs, then down freezer stairs, then back down laundry stairs, putting a lot of phantom pressure and picking up all those opening kills for Soniqs really helped them win these rounds.
Now, from both of your perspectives, this new age of Soniqs with the slightly more passive playstyle, do you think that's the direction in which they should have been going towards? Do you think it's going to pan out well for them this major?
I think the big thing for Soniqs is genuinely just unifying under one vision, however that is, whether it's passive, whether it's aggressive, whether you're playing split fury, whether you're doing, you know, full executes or you're cheesing it, whatever you're doing, as long as all 5 players believe in that vision and do it together, then they will be fine. And I think that's what we're starting to see out of them. You know, obviously there's going to be some hiccups. I think today they definitely showed Dplus way too much respect on the server, but there's going to be some hiccups, but they keep winning.
I mean, yeah, they showed quite some respect when they had some deep roams from Soniqs coming out with all those reinforcements above when they were defending kitchen and dining, and then they dropped before they even had those gunfights, for example, showing that respect and letting Dplus take the map control and letting them progress with their own attacks.
Well, I'm certainly excited to see the rest of their journey here at the Blast R6 Major Copenhagen. But we're going to throw to a quick break. But coming on up, we're going to have Revan Esports taking on Team Liquid. That's going to be a spicy matchup. We'll catch you soon.